Welcome to Global Insiders Podcast. I am Ryan, the Peripatetic One, bringing you information about opportunities relating to jobs, traveling, and any information that can elevate you to your rightful place in this thing called life. You can find more information and how-to methods on globalinsidersgroup.com. That is insiders with an S. And here is today's show. Hello, Insiders. I'm happy and beaming with excitement today as I have another returning guest on the show. He came on in the early days of the podcast. In fact, he was in episode 6. So I'm very happy to have him back on the show. The last time he was here, he really helped us with some relevant information that has really helped a lot of people. Today his story will be even more important as he will be talking about how he transitioned from one career to the next. So please continue doing whatever you are and get ready to learn some new things. Welcome back to the show, Oliver.
Thank you, Ryan. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Sure. First, let me start by congratulating you on your 50th episode.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it.
Pleasure, and happy holidays to all. So in my previous life, I worked within the military. More recently, I've transitioned to a role in the financial services sector. I work for one of the largest providers or suppliers to within the industry, within the fintech space.
Okay. And fintech, for those who don't know, is?
It's financial technology. So we look at it's a myriad of things really, and in some sense means a different thing to different persons. But from my standpoint, the way I look at it is we're providing a platform to our clients, which allows them to make good investment decisions.
Okay, awesome. So, as you mentioned, your previous experience was in the army, and the last time we really dwelled on that, we spoke about your army experience. So we'll just continue from there. When did you realize that you wanted to make the change? You wanted to change careers?
It was always a part of the plan, to be fair. So I joined the army in 2005. The minimum time that we could serve is 4.5 years. So as part of the plan, what I wanted to do was to get the opportunity to serve within the military, but whilst being in the military to complete grad school, and also then looked at what potential careers existed within the financial services sector.
Okay, so you were planning your, I don't want to say escape, but you were planning your next move the whole time you were in the army, so.
Always.
Okay.
So it was a part of the plan. What was important for me was not to complete the 4 years and have the same qualifications that I had going in. So I had completed my first degree at the University of the West Indies in Jamaica in economics and statistics. And then during my time in the military, I went to postgraduate school at the University of Reading, reading for a master's degree in investment management.
Okay, awesome. So persons, if you're in the army, don't just, yes, you're getting you're getting a salary and you have a career there, but also think about how you can improve yourself while being in the army. So that is very good. So, what was day one like? The first day when you were no longer a soldier, because I'm thinking that you were a bit institutionalized, or maybe even more than a bit, you were institutionalized. So, getting out of that mind frame and moving forward must have been, interesting to say the least.
Yes, it was. So the process is that you have to give the military notice 1 year prior to leaving the army.
Oh, really? A
So
year?
from a year, indeed. So we call it signing off. So you have to sign off from your current service 1 year in advance. And then there's a process. So I would say in the first 3 to 6 months, it's business as usual. You continue doing your job. In the latter 6 months, that's when you start transitioning or preparing them to resettle per se. And there is a program for this, so it's a process that you have to go through. Military provides you with a lot of tools, a lot of advisory services and so forth to assist in that transition per se. So for me, day one was a bit daunting, to be fair, because when you think about what the military offers, it gives you certainty around your housing situation, so where you live, gives you certainty around your salary, it gives you certainty around your job.
Yes.
And for any transition, what I picked up early on was that in order for me to transition effectively, I had to have a short-term plan and then the strategic plan. So I had to be tactical initially and then look at what I would want to do in the longer term. So for me, on day one, it was replacing those three things as swiftly as I could. Because I realized if I did not get to a place where I had a job which gave me a good salary, and then being able to leverage that to get into a situation from a housing standpoint, then it would be more tired. So that was primary. So on day one, it was that was where my head was at the time. This was in October 2009.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. So, the job. Well, I mean, definitely you're thinking about you want to change your financial situation or you want to continue along the same financial path. So I'm figuring that might have been one of the reasons why you went to the financial services. But yeah, to be certain about that, what led you into that industry? I mean,
it was so let's look at it this way. For me, I'm absolutely doing what I love, right? So working in the financial services sector was always my dream job per se.
Okay.
I took a somewhat unconventional route towards getting there, but I think my time spent in the military only gave me added skill sets, which I'm able to use on a daily basis now. So that decision was the easy decision per se. Joining the army for me was more difficult because that wasn't my natural progression at the time when I was making that decision. But I'll even take a step back from that to say that when I look at transitioning from the military to whatever the new norm would be, that's just a case study in change management. And having gone through this and having the hands-on experience, what I've been able to do more recently is to provide that level of service advice to peers, to some of my colleagues who have done the same, a similar thing after me, but also within the financial services sectors, to my peers or colleagues who are looking to transition from one career to the next. It's similar dynamics per se.
Okay, excellent. So, you're working for a Fortune 500 company, right?
It would be if it was public, yes, but we're still the largest private network in the world. It's a last Mohican, really. Yes, so it's a huge organization. It's a very important one for the financial services sector.
Globally.
Globally, correct. And it's yes, it's been an interesting journey. I've been working for Bloomberg now for over 8 years.
Okay. Bloomberg.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, excellent. So, I mean, getting into Bloomberg the process must have been hectic. I mean, could you walk us through that process?
Indeed. So, as I said, it was me taking an unconventional route per se. So, when I joined, so I'll take you through the process. But when I joined and when I looked at my peer group, it was what you would do normally, right? You would get your university degree, you either end up in grad school, or you end up on a graduate program. At least that is normal within the UK. For me, I had in all fairness, I had a lot of doubts transitioning, right?
Yes.
I had the qualifications. I knew from an aptitude standpoint, I was fine. But it was more, I don't, how do I describe this? In that scenario, I was stripping back myself in some sense, saying, okay, I know that I'm academically qualified, but can I really do this? I've spent the last 4.5 years gaining skills in a different sector. And I was very fortunate during the process that I had good mentorship. And this is key. I met a few colleagues, so a few friends of friends, and then also a colleague that I've met via a friend of mine who was on the grad program as well, who was working within the financial services sector within the City of London. And I had good mentorship for the better part of about 4 to 6 months. As a matter of fact, that person that I'm speaking of is still my mentor, which is great. But that was the thing. That was a key thing that aided my transition into the financial services sector. Now, when it comes to the interviews and so forth, that was standard. Really, it was okay. Does your CV match? Okay, we like the fact that you're coming at this from a different angle, i.e., you have the military experience, and then now you're transitioning into the world of financial services. So these were all pluses, right? And also, what I found was that my master's in investment management gave me an advantage because most of my peer group as well, they were coming straight out of completing their bachelor's and then into a work environment. So I had a lot of transferable skills that I was bringing with me. So that was fine. It was literally the 6 months between me finishing the military and joining Bloomberg where I had to seek some advice as it relates to how to make a transition into the world of financial services because it's completely different. Yeah.
If a young person is saying, oh, they would love to work in the financial services, what would be your advice to them to get in? Like, I mean, what can they do? Let's say they're in university right now. A young lady's in university right now, and she's concerned about getting into financial services. She's having the same doubts, like what you had when you wanted to transition. What would you say? How does she get rid of those doubts?
I would say that they should take a similar route as I did insofar that you need to get mentorship. Mentorship is very important. I remember as a young person growing up, again, it was something that I was aware of. It was informal for me at the time, but there wasn't a formal process where I was seeking career advice and so forth. What I would say to that person is that what I've discovered is by way of engaging with persons who have already taken that path or seeking assistance from your career advice group at your university. That would be my initial advice. The second thing I would do is that I would start getting familiar with the financial markets, and you can do so by way of reading the typical stuff. There's so many mediums now, but the Wall Street Journal, the Financial Times,
And on Bloomberg, of course.
the business, exactly, Bloomberg News,
Yeah.
exactly, CNBC. So there are very many different mediums because one of the things, so you may think that is the career path that you want, but until you understand what you're getting into, you won't be sure. But also you may be at university not thinking of financial services as a career, but just by being more aware, by increasing your awareness of what it's about, you may see that it's a viable option for you. And the beauty about it is that the industry is so large that you don't necessarily have to go down the standard route of getting onto an investment team where you're managing money. It's a full-fledged I guess industry where you can work within compliance, within risk, within the technology space, within human resources, and other administrative or support roles as well.
Okay, excellent. So, do you see yourself as a mentor?
I do, and a mentee as well.
Okay.
It's an important thing for me. I always say that I am the person that I am because there's a lot of persons who are a lot of colleagues who have filled me up per se, if I can put it that way. So I've always been mentored. A big part of me now is giving back, and I've been doing so throughout my life. At least that's the way in which I look at it. So it the challenge is sometimes we look at mentorship as being a very formal process. It can be informal. It can be as simple as you seeing again that young person that you're speaking of, and taking that person under your wings and giving them the advice or sharing your experiences by whatever medium, and aiding that person to get to where they want to be.
Okay, good. Because earlier you mentioned something. You said persons might want to get into a field, but they're not sure what they're getting themselves into. And I'm a big believer in that also, because no matter how you see a job, I mean, it's one thing going and doing it once compared to going there every day and doing it. I mean, things that you didn't even imagine you'll see and you'll experience, and sometimes just the liturgy of it all might get to you. So, what's a typical day like for you?
Right. So it varies. So let me explain my role, and then I'll tell you what day is like. So I'm responsible for three things really. It's one, taking care of the commercial aspects of our business engagements. It's also having oversight over all the projects and implementations that we have ongoing for my clients, but then also creating a framework in which we're able to support them once they're up and running on the services. So those are the three main facets. Now, in terms of a typical work day, it is having internal and external engagement. So internal with our internal stakeholders and peers, but then also external with the clients to ensure that I am able to deliver on those three things. Now, where it gets a bit complicated, and this is why it varies really, is that I am doing this across 6 different countries in Europe at the moment, and I do have some global responsibilities as well.
Okay.
So there's a huge part of my work day / work month that's spent traveling. So I see myself very much embedded in the future of work. So there's a lot of mobile working. There's a lot of working from satellite offices, and so forth. It's then managing a team that's functioning in a similar facet to that which I am, wherein they're traveling for work. It's running projects globally, so it's being able to manage those three facets across the three main regions, so Asia, Europe, US, in terms of time zones, North America. So a typical day varies, but what tends to happen is that I get into the office usually at 7 in the morning, and then I tend to spend the first 3 to 4 hours looking at Eurasia, so whatever is happening in Europe and whatever is happening in Asia. And then when it gets to the middle or the back end of the day, so the middle of the day is Europe, and then I tend to spend the back end of my day looking at stuff that's happening in Europe and North America.
Okay.
But it is all centered around commercials, implementations and projects, and then being able to support the clients. And then it's having those internal and external engagements, which aids me in those three facets per se.
Okay, good stuff. I mean, to be performing at such a high level, you must be motivated. What motivates you, Oliver? How do you keep your juices going? How do you keep yourself in tip-top shape mentally for this type of job?
I'm just wired.
You're drinking all the Red Bulls.
Yeah, exactly. For me, I think what I'd say is that I'm doing what I love, right? It's I'm passionate about financial services. I stumbled onto this in third year of my first degree, I did an international money and finance option at the University of West Indies. And prior to that, I never had much insight into the world of the financial the world of financial markets. Thereafter, I started doing a bit of FX trading, so just to get more familiar with the markets. And I've been fortunate that I've been given the opportunity to work within the financial services industry doing what I love. But now what added to that is that I've now discovered the world of technology and how how disruptive technology can be in terms of an industry. So I'm putting those two things together on a daily basis. What's more interesting now is that also because I have a background in economics and statistics, so there is that aspect of it as again. And then beyond that, I have also recently completed a master's degree in real estate investment and finance.
Okay.
So for me, it's all things investment management. It's all things financial services. It's all things technology, and by technology, I'm not only even speaking about fintech anymore. It's being curious about what's happening now, staying in the present, but at the same time, having that outward look towards the future. And again, mentorship. So what keeps me going is a mentor of mine said to me a few weeks ago, we're speaking about where I am and then how I progress going forward. And she made a very good point to me. She said to me that when she started her career in the 1980s, she never had any inclination about where she would end up. If she said to me, if at that point she had said that where she is now, she could have predicted that she wouldn't be able to. So what she said to me is that, look, it's quite simple, really. Live in the now. But what you have to afford yourself is, or commit to is training. It's building skills on a daily basis that will prepare you for your future. What if you no one knows what the future holds. You can simulate, you have permutations, but you never know, right? So as much as I'm looking outwards, I go to the office every day and I give 110%. I come home feeling a bit knackered most days, but I I tend to, somewhere around 6 p.m. in the evening, I tend to ask myself whether or not I'm happy with what I've done today. And I have that reflective moment, if even a moment. And then I go home and start the day again the following day. So I think I'm just naturally motivated in that way. I've been fortunate in that way. And I just continue trying to refine my skills on a daily basis and to learn new things. I'm curious and I love to learn, and I love to learn new things as well. I don't like the idea of just sticking to what I know now. I like to try to figure out what is it that I don't know that will enhance my experience of life on a daily basis.
Okay, but you know what, Oliver? I can't let you off the hook because having a corporate gladiator, yes, having a corporate gladiator like you on this show, I mean, we need to get some sort of secret. So tell us one good book, one good poem, one good movie, or a song, something that has given you some sort of inspiration. Because as I said, we can't have a corporate gladiator like yourself on this show and we don't get some sort of secret like that. That would be, I would be letting down the insiders.
Right. So a lot of my friends are teachers.
Yes.
So one of the things, and I have a 2-year-old daughter as well. So one of the things I've been speaking to them about a lot nowadays is learning.
Yes.
I've been speaking to him about it because I'm asking the question. Parenting is such a strange thing in the sense that you end up having a child at some point, hopefully, and then you suddenly discover that everyone expects you to be a great parent, right? Right?
Yeah.
So when parenting occurred, I started seeking advice and counsel. And one of the things that I've observed is that again, to technology, as a result of technology, the way in which we consume information now differs from how we did when we were growing up, right?
Yes.
So when I look at my 2 year old's experience of learning, it's a lot of multimedia stuff, right?
Yes.
And that's where I am. So I do read a lot. The reading, as a result of where I am now, the reading has been quite specific. It has been driven by work for the most part. It's a lot of keeping up with what's in the news. It's new theories being put forward, new technology stacks that's coming out that I need to get my head around. The information is in real time. The expectation is that you're up to speed. There's a lot of conversations around machine learning and artificial intelligence and all the different type of technologies which will be disruptive. And disruptive is such a powerful word. It does sound as if it has some negative connotations to it, but being disruptive in a positive way. I mean, now there's in terms of books. So that's where I'm at in terms of, I guess, how I consume information. The point I'm making is that
many ways.
It's a myriad of ways.
Yes.
Listen to tons of podcasts, news obviously, and that kind of stuff. Now, the book that I've read most recently, quite recent, which I'm fascinated by, and I'm fascinated by this for a number of reasons. But when I completed my master's degree in October, I needed something to tickle my mind per se, and Ran, thanks to Ran, he introduced me to Shoe Dog, Phil Knight. So Phil Knight's book. Yep.
Yes. Okay. All right.
Yes. So that was a good tip from you. I read it and it was quite good. It was quite interesting. It's and interesting insofar that I've watched many interviews with Phil Knight. The humility of the man. I would never, until I read the book, I never had such a deep appreciation for how he started the company and turned it into the gladiator that it is now. Indeed. So it was good to read about that, to see the journey that he took, and how he started this. But it also, there's one thing I got from it, very profound for me. What he created was a huge demand for a product, and what he continually battled with throughout the story was the idea of how do I meet that demand. So how do I produce the best product possible, given the constraints that I have? And that is pretty much the story of our lives, right? We have finite resources. We know what needs to get done. We're juggling many things at the same time. And there's that constant battle every day of how do I make the most of this finite resources, whether it be your 10 hours per day, if that's your work day. And then leave enough to be able to, I guess, meet your other responsibilities on a daily basis.
Okay.
So when I look at it from that standpoint, in terms of how we spend our greatest resource called time,
yes.
I really and truly I break this down into three aspects. So it's your stuff that you have to do on a daily basis to keep going, right? So I call them, in our industry, we call them your KTLO stuff, your keep lights on. Mm-hmm. So that's the activities that you do which may contribute to you just paying your utilities and so forth. There's a stuff that you have to do to remediate something that's going off the rails. So whatever you can call it, your infrastructure type of stuff. So okay, fine. There's an aspect of the process that's not working, and I need to put some capabilities over there to ensure that I get it back on track. But the piece that we don't do enough, so fine, you have to do those two things. the piece that we don't pay enough attention to, or we don't hone in and give as much attention as we do to the other two, is the what is a piece that speaks to what how much of your time are you allocating towards building out new capabilities?
Okay.
How much are you investing into yourself or into a process to secure your future, or to give you the best toolkit or tool set to allow you to progress into the future? And when I say building out new capabilities, it may be a new course, a new skill. It may be learning how to public speaking, whatever it is, whatever you choose in that moment. But that's a piece that I am honing in on right now, and that's part of what I took out of Phil Knight's book. A commitment to continually evolving and continually trying to get to our end goal, whatever goal that is. But the key aspect of it is choosing to do the things that allows you to have an impact on society.
Okay, nice, nice. I like that. And I mean, it's a nice segue because, I mean, as the saying goes, I mean, work makes Jack a dull boy. So we have to change it a bit now and go into some leisure
Yeah.
things, right? So, I mean, what about traveling for leisure? How many places have you been to?
um, I've traveled a lot for work, to different places. For
But for leisure, for leisure.
leisure,
Mm,
for leisure, I tend to try to go to a new country every year now.
yes.
Most recently, this year we went to Portugal,
Okay.
which was great. I wouldn't put it down to a number, but this is way in which we try to do it. So we try to find a new location, and visit every year. So this year I've had the opportunity of going to India for the first time, which was an experience, and then Portugal after. So went to India for a wedding, and then Portugal for my birthday.
Okay.
Um, Now, when you say travel for leisure, what comes to mind really is I have two trips in my mind, which are my ultimate trips, which I would love to do at some point.
Yes.
One of them is starting in Mexico and then going all the way through Central America, all the way down to Brazil.
Okay.
And the next one would be to do Southeast Asia excursion. So I think about these as more as experiences as opposed to just going on a holiday per se.
Okay. Nice, nice. I
Yeah.
like that. I like that. But for the ones that you have done so far, which was your favorite and why?
Barcelona, I would say Barcelona pulled on me a whole lot. I can't explain it. It felt,
Are
I
you?
think it felt,
Hold
it's
on, hold
because
on, hold on. Are you a Barcelona fan? Soccer
I'm a,
fan?
I'm a, I'm a huge fan of football, so I'm more a Ronaldo than a Messi guy, though, to be fair.
Okay. I had no idea, but I had no idea. I would guess the other way,
I,
but let's not digress.
that's a different conversation, right?
Definitely.
Um, but yes, so when we turned up in Barcelona for the first time, I immediately asked the question, "What am I doing living in the UK?"
Oh, really? Wow.
And I think it's because it felt a bit like the Caribbean, a whole
Okay.
lot like the Caribbean for me.
Wow.
And subsequently, I've come to the conclusion that I am a big fan of coastal cities,
Okay.
because coastal cities function different. There's a lot of seafood. There's the beaches, sunshine.
Ah.
People function differently, right? So Barcelona was for me, and then um, I guess continuing with that theme, went to Portugal, another um, beach holiday per se. That pulled on me a whole lot as well.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I mean, I guess you it's different, right? It's different experiences. I'm big on experiences now, as opposed to, even as I said before, as opposed to even thinking about it from a holiday.
Yes.
Work's so busy, or days are so filled filled that whenever I take a break, I like to go for experiences. But that said, no place like home. So Jamaica is still number one for me. Yeah,
Okay. I like that. I like
yeah,
that. Well,
yeah.
the last time you were here, I don't think we did the the rapid fire questions. I'm not sure if we did them, but I have some rapid fire questions here for you. So please
Okay.
answer. I'll say the words and you answer, okay? So the first one is
Yeah.
life.
Growth.
Nice. Future.
It's sharing my experiences and expertise with the world.
Okay, nice. Travel.
Jamaica.
Okay, the last one. Instagram.
Collaboration, I suppose, sharing.
Okay, all right, cool. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So, Oliver, we're at the end of the show, but this is by no means the last time the listeners will be hearing your voice. You mind
And
telling
then,
them why?
yes. So the journey continues. For me, it's continual development, and I'm working on a couple of projects at the moment, which looks at, well, one of them primarily looks at how we can simplify the world of finance for uh, for individuals per se.
Yes.
And if you just allow me a minute to explain,
Sure.
last week I had a moment wherein I was in Amsterdam. I was in Netherlands, I should say, where we met with some senior execs for one of my clients, and it was a great meeting. We're speaking about our priorities, their priorities. We started speaking about the world of technology, solving complex business problems, the usual stuff, I would say. It suddenly dawned on me that typical individuals who get up and go through their day does not have access to the resources which are at the disposal of large institutions, and also even large, if I could say, retail clients or high net worth clients per se.
Yeah.
I've now committed to demystifying that on behalf of the general population per se. So I'm at the I'm at the front end of figuring out what shape that takes. But I think when I think about what's next, having an impact, and then also how do I share my experiences and expertise with the world, then this is what I'm currently working on. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. So, Oliver, how about coming on the show and co-hosting with me sometimes?
That would be a pleasure. I'm still waiting on that formal offer, you know.
Okay.
Be a pleasure.
All
It'll be a
right.
pleasure. I think look, it's great. What you're doing is amazing, right? And it says it all in the title. It's Global Insiders, right? It's taking people from with different experiences, different journeys, different social norms, but all driven, right? All with a common purpose, and understanding, breaking that down for I guess your end users, and it's an amazing journey. And I've had the pleasure of knowing you for what now, the better part of 18 years.
That's right. That's right.
We've seen each other grow. I commend you for where you are and what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So as I said, definitely insiders. It won't be the last time you're hearing Oliver. So once again, don't worry. You'll be hearing him in the future. So Oliver, thanks again. And how can the people reach you?
So thank you, Ryan. So my Instagram handle is at Retafort Inc. That's at RETAFORTINC. And do not be surprised if you check my page and you don't see much. I don't post a lot, but that again will change going forward. Or you can also reach me on email at olidaley@gmail.com. That's OLIDALEY @gmail.com.
Okay. Thank you, Oliver. This was great.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks for listening today. I hope you are inspired. You can find more helpful and motivational material at globalinsidersgroup.com. That is, insiders with an S. You can also keep in touch at Global Insiders on Instagram. See you next time, but remember, you can be your own superhero. Bye.